Welcome. That's it. That's what you get. When it's 12:41 a.m. I'm Katharyn Henson from London, along with my co-host
Eva Bogan from New York.
There you go. And it's fucking Thursday. Wow,
and it's
Thursday.
Saturday night.
Yeah, no, I was gonna, and then I was like, God, that's just all that did was remind me of my mom going like, well, why don't you submit something to Saturday Night Live?
Oh, that's so nice.
Why don't you go on Saturday Night Live? And I'm like, I can't just walk in there unless I have a gun, and be like, put me on.
It's so nice to have a mother, isn't it? I've heard this
already. We're 30 seconds in, and this is brought up. I'm, but you can't shake me today. I'm very subdued.
You seem okay today.
Well, if you're viewing this on video, you can see that I'm fully reclined. I think what is it? Reclined is the new upright.
Oh yeah, that's what I said to you before.
That's what you said to me before. Don't worry, I wasn't going to steal your line.
I know. Yeah, that's what I said to you before. I said that before. I said it first. You said that
before. She did, and I am reclined. I am full of Easter candy. You know which kind it was, and I know, but I mean, people fucking love these. The little milk chocolate eggs with the hard candy shell.
And the cream on the inside.
No, not the Cadbury egg. Those are bomb though, and they sell those here year round. I'm just saying that is reason number one to fucking live here. That's all I got.
Oh, right now you're you're like so pro UK. Oh, you're just saying that's
just for the Cadbury eggs. Like
reason number one to live in the UK.
Correct. Yeah. Just fill up on that cream. 365 days a year. That'll just fill the hole in your heart, But no, I'm talking about those little fucking milk chocolate joints, that are like with the hard candy shell. And you take a bite and it's kind of crunchy. You're like, am I eating my teeth? And you're like, no, it's just delicious.
Wait, is the outside kind of a pastel color?
Pastel speckles.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude.
Okay.
So many.
I'm on your side, Katharyn.
I'm just saying, I had 2.5 packs of those tonight. Yeah. I washed that shit down with grapefruit juice. Okay, that's 1 serving of fruit. I've done it.
That is not a serving of fruit. It's a serving of sugar.
Hell yes, it is.
You know what? I will always be bitter about, yes, you have a mother, but more than that, it's that I don't eat a lot of junk food. I don't eat pasta. I rarely eat pizza. No. I don't buy bread. All these things and I don't even fucking drink juice. I just drink water, mineral water, coffee, and tea. That's all I drink. And then there's these skinny bitches like you who come out and I'm going through your clothes for you and I'm sending you all this stuff and you're like, oh, it's a 28. It's never going to fit. And I'm like, and then you said to me today, there was a pair of Calvin Klein jeans that were a 31. I don't know that I've ever been a 31 since I've known what those sizes are. And you're like, oh, those are huge. And I was like, you stupid fucking bitch. Oh, you just get stressed and that makes you thin? Oh, wow. You have such a hard life.
It does work.
I'm stressed. I get stressed. I put weight on. Isn't that a fun? Yeah.
I'm on my way. I'm on my way with my eggs, man.
Oh, are you? You really?
I'm similar, man. I don't eat I'm very like Mediterranean diet. You know what I mean? Because I can't really.
I'm mad at you.
Well, I can't fuck with like those like keto diets. You know what I mean?
That's what I do. Keto works for me.
Same. I love bread. And I fuck with sourdough hard.
But this is what I'm talking about. If I eat those things, I mean, today you told me that I look thin, which I was like, okay, fine.
I'll
pack your stuff. I'll send it to you. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I do.
I've got a fucking couch full of those compliments coming your way. So,
Well, I am wet. Tell me more. But I eat, like, I remember, okay, so I had I had this friend and she was French, and you know how French women, like, even when they're being nice, they're always mean. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I like it, but I don't.
You would like her, but I don't know. She's like, yeah, we kind of, let's say we lost touch. Okay. Let's say, and
where's the body?
yeah. I haven't seen her since we were on that yacht, but we lived together and she called me poisson juif, like little Jewish fish. I did. I came up with the name. I liked it. I think it's juive. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But she French people, like, she would say things like she was like, if you, like, I was doing yoga with her one time, and she would say things like, God, if you lost weight, you would have the most amazing legs. And I was like, thank you. I'm gonna go cut myself. But she meant it as a compliment. And so she said to me at some point after we lived together upstairs, she was like, juif or whatever, Jew. She was like, I've lived with you for a year, and you eat really healthy, and I think you just need to like accept, like, this is like your body. Like, basically she was saying, like, I thought that you just sat around eating cake all the time, but after living with you, I think it's just how you are, And I was like, oh, thank you for believing.
She should be a fucking life coach. My God, all that inspirational shit coming your way all the time. Real positivity. What'd you write in your journal about that hooker?
About that hooker? I was just, I mean, I think I was just like, she's retarded. I think that's probably what I wrote down. Just
I honest to God was like, there's no fucking way you also had a journal then. And apparently you did.
Yeah. I mean, of course I did. Of course I've had a journal since I was 16. I mean, I didn't journal at the same.
Do you save all your journals?
Yeah, I have them all.
Okay, hold up. Resident hoarder here is me, but you've got all your fucking journals.
It's the only thing I've kept. I have my Harry Potter books. I have Mr. Bunny, which my mom
nothing
gave
to brag
me.
about those books.
Okay, enough. Okay, I have Mr. Bunny, which my mom gave me before she died. Okay, make a joke, mom, girl.
Approved.
Okay,
approved.
And I have family photos, and I have my journals. And that's it. That's all. I mean, I have like one or two pieces of clothing that are sentimental, and it's all in a box at my cousin's house in DC. Everything else, and I do have some stuff that I've accumulated since I got back to the US in my brother's in a closet at my brother's house. And one of those things is a big bag of all of my journals from when I was in Australia.
Wow.
My journals and my stand-up notes. The stand-up notes thing, it's like, that is useless because a lot of those were when I was brand new. And it was like, do you ever notice how no one talks on the train? It's like that. Like, do you ever notice how da, 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 da? Do you ever know, like, it's like, okay, like, older Eve, like, I'm glad that you want to get into comedy, but these are not nice ideas. These are not good ideas.
It's funny you bring that up. I was like I was looking for my first set, which I have a tape of. I was looking for that tape because I kind of was wanting to, I'm working on a thing where I need to use jokes that I don't really want to use. And like, so I was like, well, I know some of that shit I wrote is all right. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when has that ever happened to you where, like, at the beginning you wrote these jokes and most of them are dog shit or whatever, but like once you've done stand up for a couple years, you can go back and be like, actually, that's pretty bomb. Like, let me fuck with that one again.
The idea.
I was looking for some of that shit because the first shit I ever wrote for stand up comedy was about this dude that I had a crush on a dude that sold hot dogs at Rockaway Beach. Okay. Like,
that's crazy. I have a crush on a guy who sells hot dogs at Rockaway Beach.
Please, don't.
No, I don't. I'm just kidding.
He told me he had herpes, and I'm just glad that, I didn't.
And you were like,
shit.
That's not a big deal.
Yeah, I was like, well, you also have a job, right? So it's okay.
Yeah, you're the hot dog guy.
Yeah.
Every hot dog has a bit of herpes. It's called sauerkraut.
He lived on a boat that was permanently docked.
Right.
Okay?
God, this guy is getting better by the fucking second.
Yeah, and
did his mother live on the boat with him?
No, he did. There is no way this man had a mother because he only had one outfit, and it was the one he sold the hot dogs in, and he wore it to the date we went on. And
you went on a date with him?
Yeah, I have the bar is infinitely lower than yours has probably ever been. Like, I thought he was so cute. I was like, he is so I would go there and like walk around just to like make eyes at this dude who's like in his mid-30s selling hot dogs.
Okay. Like, wait, and you were like in your early, you were like at in college?
No, this wasn't. I would say I was like 27.
Stop,
I was 27.
Katharyn.
Yeah. Yo,
No.
I even had my like hot ex. So this is fucking ridiculous. The only ex I'm friends with, he's like a brother to me now. It's like crazy we ever dated.
Yeah.
He's like so beautiful, right? And at the time he was there living with a girlfriend who was we call her the witch now. She was horrendous. And like, even though he and I hadn't been dating 5 years, she was like crazy. Like, and so anyway, I hadn't seen him for a while. And I was like, Luke, come meet me at the beach. Cause I wanted to like flirt with Luke in front of this hot dog guy to like make the hot dog guy jealous.
Right, okay.
And Luke got to the beach and I hadn't seen him in a while. And this relationship he was in was so bad. He had lost so much weight. Not to rub it in, I know. Mm-hmm. We like
everybody, I know. Yeah. Everybody's doing better than me. I get it.
But he was so gaunt. He looked like a cancer patient. And I hadn't seen him in forever. And he walked up and I was like, this isn't gonna work. Like, and I just like was like, fuck, you look like shit.
Totally. Yeah.
And he was like, I'm in a really bad relationship. And I'm like, how will I get this hot dog guy to like me?
Dude, you telling this story like, haha, look what I was like back then. I'm like,
Yeah. So look, who's doing better now? I think,
Well, you're married. You married the hot dog guy. You married the hot dog guy and moved to London. That's exciting. He's got more than one outfit now.
I didn't marry the hot dog guy, but I did write 8 minutes on him that I'm trying to revisit now, which is fucking hilarious.
Can I start calling Mark the hot dog guy and he'll never get it? Like,
well, see, the problem is he's already known as the hot dog guy in my inner circle.
Who is Mark?
No, the hot dog guy. The people who were around at that time. We also called him the boat poodle.
That's cute. I think the boat poodle is very cute, but the hot dog guy turns me on.
Well, there was another hot dog guy in my life too. When I ran away, it's a theme. It's a theme.
God, it's funny. My dad loves hot dogs. My 86-year-old father loves hot dogs so much. Like he's the only person who like when we go to the supermarket, he's like, don't forget to get the hot dogs. Like, what other like American person like on the coasts, you know what I mean? Like outside of the 4th of July is like, oh yeah, we just need hot dogs without having children. I get when you have kids, they're like, I want a hot dog, and you get the kosher all beef, like organic now. My dad loves hot dogs. Yesterday, I spoke to him at lunchtime, and he was like, "Can I call you back? I just made a hot dog, and it's just hot. It's like steam." I was like, "It's fine, Dad. Call me back." So he calls me back, and he's like, I mean, it's as if every time I speak to him, he acts like we're meeting for the first time. He's like, I just really love hot dogs, and what I do is I make a cut down the middle. And I put it in the microwave. It's like he's like telling me like he's like making some kind of like artisanal, like he cures his own meat. I make a slit.
America, it's America in his mouth.
He's like I make a slit in the middle of the hot dog, and then I put it in the microwave, and then I turn it. I put it on for however long, and then when it cooks, it kind of like blossoms like a flower, and it just and I'm like,
yo. No, dude, hot dogs do not blossom. Okay, lots of shit blossoms, but a hot dog is not one of those things. Like a flower. Wow.
And I was like, Dad, you're talking about like garbage, like it's like literally heated garbage.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, what do we do with the snout? Put it in the sack.
Yeah.
Call it a hot dog.
It's like man-made meat. I swear to God.
It's like the Hoover Dam of meat. Like it's just so much engineering went into it. But he just loves it. He loves it. Like hot dogs and tuna fish. Those are his things. So whenever my stepmother goes away, like whenever she goes away for like the weekend, it's like somebody has to leave him a bowl of food on the floor. He goes, I went to the supermarket to stock up. I go, what'd you get? Hot dogs and tuna fish? He goes, how did you know that? I'm like, you have one note. This is you. This is who you are. I've known you my whole life. But anyway, I have a dad. I'm sorry you don't.
Because I wish I could have learned how to cook. It's such glorious meals. Had I had a father, I wouldn't be eating Easter candy for dinner. Wash down with juice.
It's just so stark, the contrast, because it's like your mother, who's now helping you get all of your clothes out of my apartment to the UK or to charity or whatever, has like taken charge of like, she's like ordering boxes, and there's like tissue paper now in my apartment, and rolls of tape and saran wrap to wrap the boxes so that nothing, and my dad's like, get a hot dog. Have you gotten a hot dog? Like hot dogs, it's so good. You can't go wrong. It's just like, yeah, I wonder who between us is doing better. I just wonder.
Well, together, that's a whole day of packing and lunch, so I think we should introduce them, and then we get fed and I get my shit and no, I did say to you earlier today, you were like, and she sent markers, and I'm like, yeah, you got like 2 Capricorns working with you now. It's like, and there's going to be, we're going to try to not smother you with our organization and work ethic. Oh yeah.
I was just like, God, she's really thinking ahead, because I don't have markers. I have highlighters. You can't.
I think I don't want to ruin this surprise, but should I ruin a surprise?
Yeah. What is it?
Apparently she told me you're getting a card with the declaration forms. She wrote you a little card. I know. Do you know how many of these fucking cards I'm saving? Do you know how many? I've saved them all, because and they all say the same goddamn thing, but I cannot throw them the fuck away. It'll say. And it says her, like, she says a lot. She usually sends 2 cards. One is love mom. Yeah. And then she'll put the year, and then the other one she writes from the animals, and all the animals she owns, the pets, their names.
That's it's cool that you have a mom.
It makes me want to poke myself in the eye, because it makes me feel some sort of way now that I can't handle it. So I have all this loose paper just flying around. Yeah, I can't.
That's really cute. Well, look, I'm interrupting you because Bella, our guest, is here.
I thought you were going to say my mom was here. I was like, no.
Your mother is here. So welcome to our guest, Bella Green, who is a comedian, a writer, who will soon be a published author, what else? A genuine friend, a skateboarder. What else can I throw in here? A blog.
You're missing the big one that people normally like, which is sex worker.
A sex worker, and a blonde at the moment. Were you always a blonde?
A very expensive blonde. Yeah, but sometimes the regrowth gets so hectic, and because I've got a little fringe, it gets grown out far enough that people are like, aren't you blonde? And I'm like, yes, but it's just in the ends.
I was looking at your Instagram earlier, and I saw the picture that you posted from 2009 when you had like a longish front and then a totally shaved back. And it made me feel so much better about myself at that time.
I had the Chelsea haircut for years. And I used to wander around in that and like big fuck off Doc Martens. And I had this friend from Mauritius, and she was like, Bella, when I first met you, I thought you were just a massive skinhead, but now I know that you're cool.
What a compliment.
That's not what I was going for.
I'm pulling this up for Katharyn. It's like, because the thing is, I had awkward haircuts too. I think it's sometimes you just see these people, and like certain people look so put together, and you always look really put together, and like you're cute and pretty, and you've got all these like hot sex worker pictures on your Instagram, whatever. And then there's this picture of you from when I was like, what the fuck? Like, it just made me feel a little bit more at ease. Do you know what I mean? I think that's fair, right?
In my 20s, I was like, I realized I was gay, and I was like, yeah, that's the shocker.
No, but you know what? Not everybody can pull that off, and I think you're doing it. So kudos to you, man. Yeah, for sure.
I just needed to let everyone know that I was gay. I'm like, how do I do this as efficiently as possible? And then in my 30s, I was like, I'm a femme and it's fine. I'm still technically a bisexual, because like I do every 18 months or so be like, I think I like a dude. I think I want to fuck that dude. And then I fuck the dude and I'm like, yeah, that was a terrible idea. And then I go back to being like, I'm gay. And then 18 months later, everyone's like, remember how you're gay? And I'm like, no, I like him. I really like him. I really want to fuck him. And so the cycle goes.
It's like I am straight, but every month and a half to 2 months, I'll change my Hinge and Tinder to women and be like, that's it. I'm doing it. I've always, I feel like I don't even really know myself fully. And then I'll match with women, and they're always hotter than the men I match with. The women are always like so gorgeous. And then, but you know what? They're harder to talk to, I find. Do you find that?
100%. Yeah. You match on Tinder and it's like, who's going to start this conversation? Nobody. Like my Tinder matches is just like a sea of people I've never spoken to.
I got to say, congratulations on your book that comes out.
Thank you.
When does it come out?
June 29.
Wow.
That's close. That's coming up.
It's terrifying. It's a memoir, and I wrote about everything. And I'm just like, I will never work again. My mother is never going to speak to me. I've got a list of friends. Like I have these nightmares at the moment where it's like the book has gone to print, but I forgot to take out some horrible thing I said about someone I know that will definitely read the book, and just wake up in a panic like, oh my God, can I do more editing, or is it gone to print? You know?
What's it called, the book?
Happy Endings. I didn't think of it. My publisher did. And I'm like,
really?
That's so good. Yeah. They suggested it. And I was like, beautiful.
Wow. That's great that she's, by the way, Katharyn used to work in a sex dungeon, but like as
hell yeah.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
She was like the bookkeeper. Like
yeah, as a manager, you know.
Oh, right.
So but what I find you know, I'm also kind of I'm also publishing something. I'm not, but I've been like thinking a lot about wanting to write about my life. So it's like, how did you end up kind of deciding to go that direction, like writing a book about it?
Well, what happened was there were like fellowships at the Wheeler Centre, which is like the Centre for Literature in Melbourne.
Oh my God. I remember this when you got the desk there.
Yeah, so they give you, if you apply for it, they give you a desk at the State Library for 10 weeks and a little bit of money. And like, I saw it and was like, I've never written anything except stand up. Like, they're not going to give this to me. So when I did the application, I was just like, let's take the piss. And they were like, why should we give this to you? And I'm like, well, you could give it to some snot who just got a fucking literature degree from Melbourne Uni, or you could give it to a hooker who's going to write about how to change the cum bin. So you should just give a hooker a chance. Like, that's what you should do. I wrote that, and they picked me out of all of their thousands of applicants. They gave it to me, and I was like, this is hilarious. So I just started writing. I was like, yeah, I'll write little essays about dumb shit that's happened to me, mostly in sex work. And it went from there. Like, a publisher read an excerpt they published on their website and was like, send us your manuscript. And I was like, what manuscript, lol? And she just nagged me until I sent her the like 20,000 words I'd written, and they gave me a book deal. So that's what happened.
Okay. It's like, it's such a happy ending. No, it's such a great story for a great person that it's like hard. It's also, so I feel all these feelings of like just bitterness coming up, but it's like that I talk to, look at your sweet little fucking face and just like the audacity to write, like, just give it to a fucking hooker instead of this like Melbourne Uni sound. And I'm like, God bless you, you know, like, so it's like hard because I'm like, my instinct is to be like, you got like a desk and then you like sat there and then you like wrote the thing that you said you were going to write, and then somebody liked it, and then they were like, write a book, and then you did. What's wrong with you? But then I'm like, congratulations. I know that was really hard for you. I know you like worked really hard. That's amazing.
Did you not like, you know, and I guess I'm relating this to myself because I'm currently like struggling to find discipline, I guess, to sit down. Like, right. You know what I mean? I know I have a good story, like yours, obviously, like sounds good. I think that's probably why they went for it, right? It's raw, it's real, it's not horseshit, you know, and I haven't read it, but I can kind of discern from just how we've interacted so far, that kind of seems like maybe what you're like, you know, you're like, I'm not going to sell you something that's just garbage. It's like, this is what it is, maybe. But I'm like really envious of the fact it sounds like you were able to just sit down and it just flowed out of you. Did you have any moments where like you couldn't write? Because that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just like can't even start.
Oh my God, I would not do anything without deadlines. Like,
yeah,
I didn't start doing anything creative until I was 32. Like, I spent,
how old are you?
36 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're the same age.
He looks 23.
I know. I always think that you're so much younger than me. I'm like, you sweet little innocent flower. And then I'm like, oh, you're like, I'm like almost 37. You're like 6 months younger than me or something like that. Or you're younger.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. I spent like 15 years being like, I should do something creative, but I don't know what it is. So by the time I started doing comedy and writing, I was like, I've got so much to say. But again, I wouldn't have done anything without, like, I wrote my first stand-up hour I just registered for the Melbourne Fringe, and I was like, well, you've got to fucking do it now. And once I got the Wheeler Center hot desk, I was like, well, you've got to fucking write some words now. And then once I got the book deal, they gave it to me in March of last year. They were like, well, you've got till October to write 70,000 words. And I was like, oh, fuck. But I was just pretty much forced to spend my lockdown writing a book. I was like, I would never have done any of it without a deadline hanging over my head.
It's funny that you say that, because I literally paid for a writing class, and I graduated with a degree in nonfiction writing from so I've already actually paid for it once, right? And then I was like, I'll buy another one to force myself to have these deadlines. And this class is like this class participation that I hated in college and I hate now. And I've literally fucked the class off, because I was like, I paid to do something I knew I wasn't going to do, basically. But I wonder if it would feel different, I guess, in a position like yours, because it's like that deadline didn't work for me. I was like, this is a bullshit deadline for a bullshit thing, and all these strangers are going to comment on shit. And do you know what I mean? But yours, I guess, was like a real deadline for something like major.
Yeah, I think.
So congratulations for
Thank you.
Yeah.
If it's a deadline where you're just letting down yourself, like,
yes.
I would 100% not do it.
Yeah. No accountability to myself.
Right.
Ever.
And also, if you don't really respect the other people in the class, like my friend said to me the other day, she was like, well, maybe you could take a course, since you can't do stand up, like right now, maybe you can just take a course on like, kind of boning up on your comedy skills. And, she's like, she doesn't know that world. And I was like, nobody takes courses on comedy. I was like, how dare you? Because, I think we all probably know that some of the worst people in comedy will like run a course gladly. But so it's like, if you don't respect the people in the course, teaching the course, whatever, who gives a shit about the fucking deadlines? So maybe that's part of it, Katharyn.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's like, I don't want to put anybody down for trying something or doing something, and it's well, I mean, especially now, and it's not like I'm like some grand poobah of words. I mean, I've stumbled over about 14 times during this fucking thing because I'm stoned to shit. Right. But it's like, I sit there and I felt like, particularly in college, I felt like there was so much influence of opinion that I almost lost my own voice. Everybody's. And then I'm like reading other people's shit, and I'm just like, all right, I get it. Pregnancy changed you. You know what I mean? But I don't care. I don't fucking care. And I guess, like your story, Bella, like intrigues me, right? And maybe it's because it's already up my alley based on my own history. But you know what I mean? Like, I'm kind of like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, I know I have a story to tell, but I can't bring myself to do it. So when I hear that someone who is like, we're adjacent, we do comedy. We both have, I facilitated sex work. You have done it, so I look at you and I'm like, okay, if you can do it, I should be able to fucking do it. And I haven't yet. So I'm jealous, I'm envious, but I'm also proud, even though I don't know you, like
I'm fucking proud. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
How did you bring yourself to like open, like, I mean, because the thing is like, if I start to go, I'll talk about sex stuff, but like the truth is that it's not that personal. I feel like my comedy and stuff, like it's just not.
Really?
I mean, it is, but it's also not. It's like there's so many things. I get way more anxious talking about my opinions, my political opinions, than I do about having sex. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't. It's not that my political opinions are horrible. It's just that it's like sex is funny, and if you don't like it, you're a prude. Politics, it's like. People just, I care so much about politics. Like I care, and not like this, not like Trump is the worst person. It's not that. It's like, our society like hates poor people and whatever, all these things. But, it's like, those are the things that I care much more about. Anyway, it's like, I guess, so if I can't even bring myself to write those jokes about like, my real opinions that are not even like such a big deal. How do you bring yourself to, or how do you do it? Because I know that you have a lot of stuff in there that is like super personal because I get to be on your close friends on Instagram. So like,
yeah.
behind the scenes. Sorry to brag, everybody.
Great. Another thing to
that's
be
where the
jealous
fun
of.
stuff
Thank
goes.
It is
I think close friends on Instagram is the highest form of humor, and also where I divulge terrible personal stuff. So congratulations for being on that list.
Thank you very much. I don't take it lightly. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a big responsibility. And the truth is that a lot of your personal stuff, your close friend stuff, I'm saying this specifically to get under Katharyn's skin. But I always respond, usually, if there's something going on. I mean, and not just because of Katharyn, but because I genuinely, I don't know. Yeah, I care. It's interesting, the people who you kind of keep in touch with during COVID, like, and you just are kind of interested in their lives. How did we do this? I don't know. We hardly even saw each other in Melbourne.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, actually, when you were doing one of your Comedy Fest hours, you asked me and my friend Avery to open for you. And I was just like, oh my God, because I thought, I know I meant to give you compliments later in the show, but I was like, Eve is the coolest. Like, I would love to be Eve as a stand-up when I grow up. And I was just like, we were absolute horse shit baby comics. I was like, you're giving me 10 minutes? I don't even have 10 minutes, but thank you.
I thought and think you're so great. And I love Avery as well. I just thought, like, I think it's so easy to just, and I don't think I was like risque coming into fucking stand-up. I mean, I was in Korea and I was talking about, like, nothing. It's not like I was like such a fucking groundbreaker, but I still see that, like, so much of comedy is so safe. And then there's you, and there was Avery, who I think at that point had already transitioned and was talking about.
Yeah, like, she just got her pussy.
Yeah. She was like asking people in the audience, like, excuse me, sir, how do you feel about losing your penis? And people were like, like, and or having your penis removed. And then you were talking about sex work, and I was like, I fucking love these, like, fearless little bitches. And I always have thought about you as, like, someone who's like 22, even though, like you said,
I love this.
Yeah. So yeah, it was like so obvious to me. I forgot about it because I've put all the comedy in a box in my brain and heart, and I've put it in the back of the closet forever. But anyway, I guess before I was saying, how do you bring yourself to, like, be so open and personal? Like, do you feel like you are super personal in your stand-up or on your writing as well?
It's funny. I actually think I feel the same way you do about the stand-up, because people are always like, oh my God, it must be really tough to do that show every night because it's so personal. And I'm like, it's not that personal for me to be like, once I worked in a sex dungeon and I took a shit on somebody. I'm like, that's just a thing that happened. Like, there's no real personal honesty or vulnerability in that.
Right.
And the book, where I'm not always trying to be funny, is not. I'm like, I wrote an essay on the time I tried to kill myself, and, like,
funny.
I wrote about.
Sorry. Okay.
I think I tried to make it funny, so hopefully it comes across. But
when was that?
It's terrifying. When did I try to kill myself, or write about it?
First, when did you try to kill yourself?
Christmas 2018. Yeah.
Damn.
Right.
What a year, huh? Okay.
If only you knew what was coming.
I know. I'm like, wow, it was then, not even this. Okay, you're doing good. You've made it through a worse time, I guess.
I like that I'm kind of in this place right now. Well, I would say it's the dark, not right now in this moment, but sort of as a whole this year. I'm in the darkest place I've been in my entire life. And, without going into, what everything, it's just sort of been like a hammering away one thing after another, like struggle leading to more struggle, whatever. And so it's kind of the first time in my life where I've genuinely felt like, what song will I hang myself to? Like, truly, do you know what I mean? And I was like,
I have mine.
Yeah, one, like, so I guess, like, I feel like you brought that up, and you were saying that you're trying to make it funny. I definitely am joking about it all the time because it makes me feel better. I mean, we're comedians. I don't flinch from it. So, do you have any, like, fear of specifically putting that out there? Cause, like, I don't know, I'm like putting it out there myself, but it's like, I think about how people will think about me now that I, like, joke about that all the time, because that's what I feel. So, like, what, do you have any thoughts like that attached to that particular, I guess, essay that you wrote?
Yeah, and not just that one, all of it. I have complete terror thinking about it. I've got this like, oh, it's coming out in June. So it's like I am marinating in fear of just exposing myself so much. I want it to be like super successful, because if it's not, I'm like, cool, anyone can pick up a copy of all of my darkest thoughts and secrets and know everything about me. And I have not profited from or had any benefit from tearing myself open and putting it all out on the page. It's horrifying. As I say, nightmares about it all the time. I think the biggest nightmare I have as well, like I'm trying to take bets with myself at the moment on which part of my book gets me cancelled. There's something about stand-up that's so throwaway, where it's like stand-up doesn't, I'm not scared of getting cancelled because I don't know why, but with an essay I've written, I'm like, oh, I slander this group of people, and I actually, that makes me sound terrible. It's like I rag on baby hookers a lot. I rag on my old boss in the sex dungeon. Like there's people I throw under the bus, and I'm like, I talk about my mom having an affair. Actually, I've cut that bit from the book because I feel like it's mean and unnecessary, but I'm like pretty out there with stuff. And yeah, I'm like, what part gets cancelled? What part is like, especially my own community? I don't want sex workers to turn on me and be like, well, she represented us poorly here, so she's not one of us anymore. Like I think about that all the time.
So it's like you're not even really enjoying the lead up to this. You're kind of like freaking out, and
like you're dreading it.
And what you just said, like the last part about your community, like, well, first of all, my mom like called me up. I haven't written one fucking word. She called my ass up and was like, have you thought about like if you're allowed to write about any of it? Like what, or are you gonna change? And I'm like, Mom, can we like cross this bridge when I write a word down? Like any word, like, but like I often think about, because like I want to write about I was the manager there, and my vantage point is different than actually being one of the people who worked there. Like I wasn't ever in the room, or like whatever I was in the room, it was always a very like momentary experience where you're just catching a glimpse of that when then going back to the office to do paperwork. And I too sort of feel like in some ways, I don't know if this is what's holding me back, but it's like I definitely want to do the people who work there like justice. I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want it's not just like fetish, to other people, like a glimpse in this world is like, let's fetishize and romanticize that like dark world. And it's like, no, like there are people there who are like, they're doing this job, but they're working to other goals and whatever. And they're human. And that's sort of the eyes I had on it, right? Because I had to like manage the situation. So I think a lot about what you just said, like wanting to do something justice, but you actually sat down and wrote. I'm like allowing it to stop me from writing. So I find it incredible, I guess, like, were you having these thoughts while writing, or did it just come after it's done and going out there?
Like the self-doubt, you mean?
Yeah, or just, I guess, thinking about the effect it might have on the people you're writing about.
Well, I blocked that out while I was writing the first draft. It took me like the better part of a year and a half to write, but the bit where I sat down and churned it out was kind of like the 8 months of lockdown we did in Melbourne. And I just had to keep putting it out of my head. I'm like, I need to write the most honest version of this I can, and then we can go back and edit it once the first draft is done. I was just like, I can't censor myself or it's going to show.
Yeah. And how do you do that? Were you like drinking? Were you sober? Did you take stuff? Like, I mean, I'm just asking.
Amphetamine, baby. Everyone's like, how did you write a book and lose 11 kilos over lockdown? And I'm like, amphetamines, coke, MDMA. I went hard on the drugs during lockdown. No secret.
It's so funny. Like,
I got fucked up.
Katharyn was like having such a hard time. I'm like, maybe you shouldn't do drugs. And then she's like, how dare you? Like, just druggers hating me.
I have to be honest, it feels like to me you're living the life I wish I had lived during my experience being locked down in Melbourne. Like the whole time I was screaming at myself, write your fucking book now. But I was like distraught and this and that. And
but now don't forget though, Bella was like in her home where she'd lived in her home
but
country.
I'm still fucking jealous of it. Do you know what I mean?
And had a book deal.
Yeah, but you got the book deal, and I'm sitting here like, where's my sentence? Can I just write one story down? You know what I mean? And then I hate myself, so I'm just watching The Sopranos and rewatching The Wire at the same time, and then trying to have intellectual conversations about TV shows that ended over a decade ago. That's what I'm
rewatching
doing,
Sopranos at the moment. It's my all-time favorite, and I'm getting my partner into watching it. So there's that. But with lockdown, we had like the 2 lockdowns in Melbourne. And I spent
Katharyn,
the first one.
Katharyn was in Melbourne,
there,
by the way.
Oh, you're in Melbourne. Okay.
Got stuck there.
You know.
Yeah.
I spent the first one just like in a state of panic. I was pretty much sober. I was trying to force myself to like meditate and go for walks and have
this sounds like me.
Trying to keep sane and attempting to write and squeezing out like a sentence a week. And then when we had the second lockdown, I was just like, fuck it. Let's throw caution to the wind. Like, let's just get high a lot. Let's fuck off the exercise and the other things. And I wrote a ton. So I recommend that much more over a like well-being lockdown. Fuck that.
Shut up, Katharyn.
Hell yeah. No. This fucking supports my shit, though. This supports my shit.
Am I enabling?
Yeah, you're totally enabling, and you're fucking up my shit here, Bella. You're fucking up my shit.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I it's interesting to hear you say that, just because it's like I'm relatively familiar with the art of drugs, you know, and I'm very open to like, you know, trying and whatever and doing different things. And that's sort of even why during this, like, I've tried being sober, I've tried being high. I don't drink anymore, so I don't really, you know, that's not really my shtick. None of it's working. I really did at one point, I think I was looking to drugs to see like, can it aid in my perspective now? You know what I mean? After everything I've been through this year, and maybe get me on the roll of something. I mean, I did a little MDMA the other day, and I do think it did a nice little, you know, click. But like a few weeks ago I did it, and I feel like all I saw was reality, and I hated reality so much. And I was like, why didn't this LSD take me out of reality? Why did it just hold the mirror closer to my face? And, you know, and like, and I can see the rope and it's behind me. But, you know, I like hearing that though, because I'm just sort of open to different methods. Do you know what I mean? Like whether it's you know, I'm trying different things. And for you, you're supporting drugs, and I say yes to them. And so I like it. I like it.
I did go a bit too hard on the MDMA at one point, and I realized I had to pull back. What happened was I was getting Xanax delivered, another one I love, from my dealer. And to get it delivered, I had to bump up the minimum delivery like price. And I was like, what else on the menu can I buy? I was like, you enjoy MDMA. Why don't you buy that? And I realized to get the delivery, I had to buy 3.5 grams of MDMA, and not doing a lot of it, or not having bought a lot of it in recent years. I was like, that's fine. We'll get it delivered. And of course, this fucking slab of MDMA arrives. Like, it's huge. And the night I got it, I was like, let's just dip a finger in the bag and have a little lick of the gums to see how strong it is. And so I did that. And 2 hours later, I was rolling. Like, I was so high. And then I was like, that was really fun. So I kept dipping my finger in the bag for like maybe 3 or 4 nights of that week. And the week after, I paid for it. It was not good. But what I did while I was just like had this really smacky MDMA that I was just lying in bed for, is I listened to every podcast that I've been a guest on.
Oh shit, yo!
I was like,
whoa, Inception or some shit.
I would fuck her. She sounds hot. That's what I did.
That's what I do all the time without being on MDMA. This is why self-help works. I want to fuck myself constantly.
You are your own MDMA.
Yeah, exactly. Without the productivity or the mood elevation. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's something, I mean, I think the reason why I liked you, I mean, there's so many reasons, Bella, but it was like, you don't seem like you seem like you come from a tough background, right? I think I know a little bit about your background, right? Like,
I come from a very lower middle class background, but like, I'm pretty much estranged from my family. And I had a very unhappy childhood, definitely. And I got kicked out of home when I was 16. So I've done some hard yards. Yeah.
I'm like, just that, those little things. And yet you are like pretty upbeat, but not full of shit. Like, you're like a nice person, right? Is that accurate? Like, do you think that do you feel like you're genuinely happy, or do you feel like you have to kind of fake it?
Oh, absolutely fake it 100%. I
Oh,
kind
okay.
of always feel like I'm the worst person in the world and I'm not worthy of anything that's happening for me. And like I didn't work hard for anything that's happened for me. It's just things like me applying for a grant and a publisher being like, we'd like to publish you. Like I know I've worked really hard for the opportunities I've got, but I haven't had to hustle for them in the same way other people have. So I feel like a big phony most of the time.
Well, I guess that makes you a comedian.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well,
yeah.
well, I mean, but some comedians like don't feel like phonies. They feel like they're the shit all the time. Like I feel like that's what makes a good comedian, to be
You
honest.
think so? Oh, you mean what? The phony thing or the one who?
Yeah, the way she feels when you
Right,
feel
okay,
like, because you're always then gonna be like, I need to do more, push harder or something. I don't know if that's like what you're saying, but I'm sitting here and I'm like struggling to be creative, like either funny or sad or whatever. And I'm like, oh, so if I'm not allowed outside, I can't write a joke. I'm a hack. Like that's what I'm like. That's what's replaying in my mind constantly. And I don't know if that's like sort of relating to what you said, but I think it might be what did push you to like do which I think is what kind of makes a good comic. Like you went for the real thing, as opposed
like
to, yeah.
Like she feels so insecure that you just have to do the work. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, somewhat. Yeah. Or I just do the work and I'm still like, this is shit. I feel like a lot of the time I have to make something like write the show or the book and I beat myself up through the whole process. I'm like, you're doing 60% of what you should be doing. This is absolute dog shit. And then I find out after I did it and I see what everybody else did with their time. I'm like, I put in like 150%, yet the whole time I was so mean to myself. Like my unrelenting standards are through the roof. I was like, you could have enjoyed the process of doing something and maybe not being a complete asshole to yourself. Like I'm never happy.
Oh my God. I'm like, this like hurts my feelings. Like that's how accurate it is. Like, do you know what I mean? I'm like, oh, like don't see me. But I remember I just remember seeing you. I mean, I already knew who you were. I think I already even knew you to some extent at this point, but I remember you being at Lido in Melbourne, which was like one of my favorite rooms.
Such a nice room.
Oh, it just hurts. You know what I mean? Like it hurts to remember, but yeah, you were at Lido.
And I never knew.
And just just to remember your favorite place, it's just so hard. Like, whatever I don't want to say anything to Katharyn that's gonna like make her do it on camera. You're like, I'm gonna
charge for that. I'm charging for that. I'm getting rich after I'm fucking dead.
But like, yeah, I remember that you did that deconstructed hand job.
Yeah.
And it was so funny. And you can,
that sounds funny.
It was super funny. And I don't, you can explain it or not. You don't have to, but it was just, I think the thing that was like amazing is like, it was such a fucking well-written joke. I get up there and I'm such a bullshitter. You know what I mean? I'm just like, hey, what do you think? What do you think? Oh my God, here's my butt. And I I have like 2 lines. And then I just really just basically aggressively like sex at the audience. But you like, I don't know. I was like, wow, I think she like really puts work into this thing, like you show up prepared. It's kind of like amazing. Like I always thought your writing, and I'm not saying, it's like people say like, oh, your writing's so good. And what they're saying is you're not very funny, like as a person, but you obviously, I think,
what?
But what'd you say?
Somebody's told me my writing's good before.
Is that me? Your writing is great, Katharyn. No, but I think that sometimes it's like a focus on the good. But I'm saying with you, it's like your writing blew me away. I thought it was really great.
Thank you. I would see like everything you do is what I wish I could do as a comic, because I'm definitely a writer. I'm not a performer. I've had to learn how to perform by forcing myself on stage and taking a lot of beta blockers every time I have to get on stage. Every single time. I would never get on stage without them.
Right.
And yeah, I look at someone like you and I'm like, if the audience talks to me, I will cry. Like I spent hours slaving away at this joke that is very complex and has 3 callbacks because I feel like I can't rely on my performing skills at all.
But you can learn performing skills. Do you know what I mean? You get up on stage and you just get more comfortable over time and that just becomes, now you're a fucking performer. If you're a fucking lazy son of a bitch, who, I mean, I could always show up and get a B on the test, you know, I could always get a B. Look at me. I'm like in a sublet.
Bragging.
You know, yeah. I'm like on Medicaid, you know, it's like the poor person's healthcare, which by the way is fantastic. I thank you very much for this, government. But it's like, you know, I mean, I guess what am I saying? You know, it doesn't lead you, I guess if you can coast as I can in some ways, you don't, unless you really fucking get to the point of like being like, I'm never going to get anywhere if I keep doing this. Like until you kind of hit the wall of like, I'm sick of my own shit, you never really develop, you know, like, I mean, that's how I feel about myself. But then I look at you and it's like, you started off with these great fucking jokes. And as you just kept using them, it's like, then you use a good joke and people are into it. Like the audience laughs and then you become more comfortable. And then you become a better performer because you know your material is good, right? Do you feel like that's what happened to you?
Kind of, but I mean, I've been doing that deconstructed wristy bit for 2.5 years, and I was doing a gig last night, and I have just worked out how to put enough material in that I don't have to do the deconstructed wristy, because you know when you hate a joke because you've done it so many times that you're just like, if I have to do this again, I will kill myself.
Yeah,
it's beautiful, but I just cannot do it anymore. I'm like, yeah, I write stand up so slowly that I was like, I'm still doing this fucking joke. Everyone's just looking at me and being like, we've heard the deconstructed wristy bit, Bella. Like,
dude, you should move to New York. I mean, people don't get rid of the material here the way that they do there, right, Katharyn? Would you say that?
I mean, I feel like I see like I found it interesting that international comics seem to throw their material out faster, whereas I think New York comics work on their material
for years.
Like a lot. Yeah. Like I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I've been talking with people and they're like, so, you know, like they're speaking to me as though I will have like a new hour. I'm like, I'm not gonna have a fucking new. Are you kidding me? Like I'll have a new hour in like 4 years, like in another 4.
Yeah.
You know, like, so yeah, that's true. But also if you move to New York, nobody's heard that bit before and you can just do it. And then there you go.
And it's such a fucking great bit.
That's the other thing though. I did my first solo show at the end of 2018 and I'm still doing it. And all I think is like, I'm doing it at Comedy Festival again for the third time this year. I don't like, all I can think is everybody else is like, she's got nothing. She can't write a new show. Why is she doing it? Am I adequately expressing how low my self-esteem is on this podcast?
Well, it's weird though, because I feel so similarly to you. I really do. Like, you know, and it's weird because I guess sometimes I think about it and I'm like, you know, if I go out in the world, I feel like all right. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh yeah, I'm all right. But like when it comes to some shit I care about, I'm like, this is like, and I'm this kind of is leading into the fact that I'm even amazed like you got a book published, because I'm terrified that I'm going to be like, I forgot something, or like what you said, I forgot to take something out or whatever. Like this isn't ready. It's not good enough. It cannot be published forever. Right. And like, is that something that you're experiencing? Like just based on kind of what you've been saying?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know you're sorry? Yeah.
I don't think it's good enough. It's been through a couple of rounds of editing and I'm like, I thought my editors would make this better than it is. Like, and they're kind of like, it's done. And everyone I've sent it to be like my first readers are like, it's fine. And I'm like, have you not read this chapter that sucks? Like, how can I put this out into the world? And my editor had to say to me, like, if you're rewriting it and you feel like you're going to gouge your own eyeballs out if you have to read it one more time, it's like time to hand it over. And everyone says to me, it's like, if you were 100% happy with it, you'd be a maniac. Like everyone is not happy with it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever published something that they're 100% happy with, except for people who are bad writers. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I think it's like, even with stand-up, it's like, you have jokes that you love, but then some nights you do the same joke and you loved it last week and you did it tonight and they still loved it. And you're like, it's shit. It's just shit. They don't, I know, but what the fuck do they know? They don't know. They just laugh, you know, like, and you're like, I mean, I have to like, it's about to be spring. So there's going to be outdoor comedy at some point. Don't worry, Katharyn, you're going to have outdoor comedy too. I'm just trying to make sure that when she gets off the phone, she doesn't go walk into the river. But I'm like, okay, I have to make an inventory of all my fucking jokes that I can still use because I don't remember anything. If I'm on stage right now, I wouldn't know what to say. And I used to be able to say, I could tell you everything, of course. And then now it's all gone. But I'm like, part of me is like, don't even bother making an inventory. You don't have anything. you know? And I'm like, I remember I was about to do a new show. And that's why Katharyn got stuck in Australia, because she came to Australia to do a show with me. That was like why she was there. We were going to do that show Hot Garbage together, because we're like,
yes.
That didn't happen. I don't know if you know that, but it didn't happen. The show did not go on.
Oh no,
it did not. But I lived in Australia for 6 fucking months, and I wish I would have known you, because I knew 2 people.
Yeah.
Oh, so Eve wasn't even here with you for it. You're like, I came to do the show. Eve's like, I gotta get out of here.
I was like, I gotta go, man. She was like, my husband, now husband, he's coming sooner, and we're gonna spend COVID in Australia. And I was like, I don't know about, anyway, whatever. I don't want to say, I didn't tell you so I can't say it. It feels really heartless to tell somebody I told you so about quarantine, like COVID, like I told you.
I mean, but you must remember though, like after the first wave, well, maybe both of you, but definitely Bella. I mean, there was like all this hope, right? In Victoria. It was like, oh, we're fine. So I remember thinking, I was like, well, my flight's been canceled, and like he was coming for the festival as well. So I was like, we don't know what's going to happen yet. And I didn't have a flight out, and I was looking at my bank account because I spent all this money on this fucking festival. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, we'll just use your flight. We'll get you here. We'll sort of see what happens. Cause who knows what's going to happen. It
could be a fun long vacation. It could be just a fun.
But after the first round, we were like thinking we'll get an RV. We'll drive to his brother's in Perth. It'll be fine. But then when that second wave fucking hit over there, I was like, holy shit, this is the worst fucking thing I didn't choose, but let happen. You know what I mean? I was like, I think I'm making a good choice. And that lockdown, I mean, while you were writing, I was wringing my hands like I am 10,000 miles away from anything I've ever known. I don't know where to buy drugs. I don't know what the fuck is going on. And
you
I
should have known,
definitely.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, God, I really should have introduced you guys, but it didn't even cross my mind.
Yeah. Bitch, like you ruined my Australian experience, Eve, by not introducing me to Bella.
Bella, I gotta tell you, I'm subletting an apartment which is like full, like brimming with Katharyn's clothes, which I volunteer. And I didn't. It's not like unpaid, right? But I was like, yeah, have your clothes delivered here. And today we did a marathon. We finished going through everything, sorting it out. What's going to go to charity? What's going to go to Katharyn in the UK? But I love that it's like, how come you didn't introduce me to Bella? You're a stupid cunt, why do you make me journal? I just want to do drugs. I don't want to journal. I just want to fall off the deep end. I'm like, I know, I'm a real bitch. Okay. I feel like the mom. I feel like I do.
You're the mom today.
I make you dinner.
I think. Because you're looking at 2 kids. One of them's more successful than the other. Okay. That one. And then all right. And you're mommy today. That's it. Sorry about it. I don't know. And
I'm mom.
It switches.
The funny thing is, it's like my daughter now is more successful than me if I'm the mom. Like my blonde daughter is the pride of the family. My brunette daughter, she's got so much potential.
Jealous.
But she just, she just doesn't have any direction. I don't know. She doesn't have any direction, and then like little do I know that they're both getting so high together, but that one of them gets high and writes and the other one gets high and just looks in the mirror and cries.
I mean, like what you've described is sort of what I've been like searching for, like, because I like know it's in me, and I'm at this like phase where it feels like it's harder keeping it all inside than it is to like not do it, but I'm still not doing it. And then, why I'm like not on the internet, whatever, I'm trying to give myself space to feel the anger that I feel at like the luck I've had the past year or whatever, and then hoping like once I reach that peaceful place, maybe I'll write. I don't know, but maybe I'm just making more excuses to not write. And I'm truly terrified that I will just never, ever fucking do it. Did that ever, I mean, it sounds like, I know you're like, I got a deadline and that's why I did it. But like, were you ever afraid? Like, you're like, I've got something in me, but I'm not going to do it. And I'm just going to die. But my story will not be told, the one that I want to tell.
Yeah, like age 16 to 32. That was just my reality.
Damn. Yeah. You don't get to be me and me get to be me at the same time, but you're just more successful than me right now.
Look, my advice is advice that people give to me all the time and I will never, ever take. And that's like, be kind to yourself. Like there is no way I would have done anything without a deadline, like nothing, absolutely no way. And even with it, I was like, I cried every day. Like during a lockdown is like not the time to do it. I feel like now I can be this smug asshole who's like, yeah, I wrote a book during lockdown. What did you do? And it's like, I did not feel like that while I was doing it. All I felt like was like, I took months. I think I would spend a month at a time not touching the book, doing a lot of drugs and crying because I had to write this book. And then I would have like a good patch where I spent, 2 weeks, I would churn out like 10,000 words because I got on a good streak for some reason. And I was also knowing that there was a publisher on my ass, but that did not stop me from taking months off at a time and just being like, I'm the worst and I will never do this. So there is no way I would have done shit in lockdown without that. So please be nice to yourself. Like, fuck.
Do you think you're going to get to enjoy the fact you published a book? And if so, for how long? Do you know what I mean? Like,
it's me. So no, I will find problems with it.
Yeah. Like, do you ever like you have a bad set and you're like, I will wake up in the middle of the night thinking about that 2 weeks later. I'll be like, fuck, that's what I should have fucking said instead, right? Of what I did say. But then you have a good set that's fucking killer. I will have joy for that for maybe 10 minutes tops. And I'll then still be like, it just wasn't right. Like, it just wasn't right.
Absolutely.
In that one spot. Yeah.
I just did Adelaide Fringe and I had a night where I sold out my 160 seater just to brag. It was so good. Like I actually had like this amazing run. Do you know what I think about gluttony?
All right. Oh, no fucking way.
Fuck yeah, man. I know what that is because I was there last year. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And so do you know what I'm thinking about? Like my memory from that festival is the first night where I got a heckler who said, "You're not funny." And I went, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm just going to pretend it didn't happen. And within like 24 hours, I was like, you should have just asked the rest of the crowd, do you guys think I'm fun? Like I had to come back to it. I'm still thinking about it. It's been like 3 weeks and I'm like, did the 160 seater sell out stay with me? No, this heckler stayed with me that I didn't know how to deal with. So yeah, I will find the worst in anything. I will forget about all the good things.
I want to find that guy and like mutilate his body.
It was actually fucked because of COVID, we had like outdoor tents in Gluttony this year. So it was like, I would be under a stage. The audience were all outside, like, I guess like amphitheater style. And then it had big fencing around it to keep people out, but they could still hear everything on the other side of the fence. So people would kind of like stick their heads over the fence and heckle you with no recourse or accountability because no one could see them. It was like, I feel like I leveled up as a comic. Like I definitely got better at life, but it was hard.
That's New York City on a Tuesday. So
oh no.
You remember that room I ran at the fucking Windsor Ale House, right?
Oh yeah, I do.
Katharyn, nobody wanted to come to this room because it's like, I mean, everything's unpaid, right? Well, not everything, sorry. In New York, everything's unpaid. In Australia, there's some things that are paid, but this was unpaid. But it was like an open mic, but I would give people 7 to 10 minutes as an incentive for them to come. And it was like, you'd get it's like no one would be there, or you'd get the drunkest, angriest Irish people, or just like crazy people. And it was brutal. And often it would just be like talking to comics, but sometimes it'd be packed. But nobody would listen. But I'll tell you what, that fucking room made my crowd work so much better. I mean, I hosted that fucking room every goddamn weekend for like 6 months or a year. And it just like, talk about people like sticking their head over the fence. I mean, I had people who I was like, I think this guy's going to try to fight me,
It's the worst gig I've ever done. I don't think I did it when you were running it. I think it was someone else, but I was like, this is the worst gig I've ever done. And I stand by, I think it still is. I had the most pissed off backpackers. They were like, why are these comedians ruining my night? Like, I am mad about this. I think I did like 3 minutes and was like, I can wrap this up and get the fuck out of here, right?
Oh, God. And it was underneath a backpackers, like a hostel. So it was like, they were like, yeah, you should just go upstairs and try to get the backpackers to come down. And so in the beginning, I would do that. And then I was like, I hate backpackers. I don't want them to come down here. I don't stay in your little hovel, Vernon.
I'm no stranger to a hostel show.
Yeah, I'm sure. What?
Yeah, to people who don't speak English. So, you're just like, I'm doing this. This has never been about Learn. Do you know the word meth? No, that's all you need. Just know that I'm going to be joking about crystal meth, and that's it. But overall, you had a successful. So you've had a successful Fringe in a time when I just want to recap. I just got to recap in a time when the other half of the world literally is not allowed to do stand up. So that's
not
great.
Not even open mic stand up. Like not even like 10 people inside.
Yeah, no. I know. Do you know if I could go back in time, I would not probably, what I thought was a prison, I would have stayed in the Australian prison and taken that over the United Kingdom prison any day of the fucking week.
And she had 6 free weeks. You had 6 weeks between to be free and still.
Yeah. I've been free for 6 weeks this year or in the last year, like allowed to go out and talk to people. That's why I'm like this now. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, are you my mom and my dad? Like, are you my therapist? Like, who are you? You know, and so it's like, like, you know, it's kind of like I was so close, you know, because if I had stayed there, in theory would have been doing stand-up. I could have like continued to kind of, you know, I could have met you in person. I could have done what you're doing. I could have leached you for your creative energy to try to write my own book. You know, one thing that when I hear about, recap. Like, well, I have a question now. Okay. I have a question. I'm high, man. I don't know what I even said like 30 seconds ago. Like, I can't even be expected to be a person right now. And I guess that's my privilege, you know, or whatever. Yeah. But you know, do you feel, I guess 2 things. You've written this book now. Anybody who's written something like this before you, were you ever like concerned, like, well, I can't write about this because now it's not original? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I hear what you've written about, even though we're different. I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can't do it now because somebody else already did it, you know? And so have you experienced any of those thoughts of inadequacy?
Yeah. 2 Melbourne-based hookers had memoirs come out last year, and one of them is like quite similarly structured to mine. It's like personal essays kind of in a chronological order, and it did really well. And I'm just like, well, great. No one's going to want to read mine. I don't know. I've also got the competing. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I have incredibly low self-esteem. I also really love to brag, and I'm quite full of myself for things I have achieved. So I have that kind of contradictory thing of this has already been done by someone better than me, and it's going to suck when I do it. And also being like, I reckon I can do that just as well, if not better. Like, I think both of those things.
That's the comedian's personality, I think, because I think it's like when I started doing stand-up, I would bomb, but I would get 1 laugh and I'd be like, I did the best. But then I knew I was like, shit. So it's like, I think you have to have that arrogance, like that naivete or something that like, you're like, I'm better. Everybody knows that I'm going to be really successful at this, but mixed with the insecurity that makes you be like, oh my God, I suck. I'm nothing. That makes you work hard. So it's like, you need to have both. You can't just be like a person who's like, you know, I tried my best and I did, but because then you just stay in the middle. I mean, I guess you can do that and you probably end up in the same place, but the highs and lows are so much more fun when you hate/love yourself.
I also have manic depression, just to throw it in there as well. So it's like, and also sex work is the same in that sex work is just either feast or famine. Like I'm either making a shit ton of money all at once or nobody books me for a month. And I'm like, I have just set up my entire life as like bipolar paradise. Like, I don't know if it's helpful or I'm just exasperating my own mental illness times 10,000.
But I saw that in Adelaide, like your car mirror was like, what happened? Your mirror was like swiped. And then I saw you booked like a ton of appointments. Was that right? Because you just had like so much money. And I was like, God, I wish I did sex work. And I mean, I just, it's like, I have enough issues having sex, like that's not sex work. Do you know what I mean? Like I would be a nightmare. I can't do it. It's not like somebody asked me recently on Instagram, on Tinder, if I would suck my toes for money on FaceTime. And I was like, sure. But like, but I didn't do it. And it really hurt me that he never came back to me. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, I'm just not cut out for it. But when I saw you with all that cash, I was like, God, that looks fucking great. But I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
It's all smoke and mirrors. Literally, I can have a month where I make, I'll be specific, like I can do a $10,000 month and then I can do a $0 month. Like I can literally be sitting there desperately begging people to have sex with me for money and nothing. Like, can easily go a month and make zero cash, and then it just fucking rains and everyone wants to book me at once. And I'm like, yeah. But then I'm complaining. I'm either complaining that I have no work, or I'm complaining that I have to do work. Again, never satisfied.
Never happy. And hell yeah, relatable.
How much do people pay you? Can I ask that? I'm sure.
So $5.50 an hour.
$5.50 an hour. God damn. Fuck this, man. All right, guys, I'm done with this podcast. I'm gonna go find a way just be into sex work now. All right, I can do it. I can be one of the people you bitch about when you talk about baby hookers. Is that what you mean by
yeah, definitely. It's been a 7-year slog to get my rates to that. I have been doing it for a long time. So I mean, I'm not out like that. I'm sure that you are like the best, or whatever, like if I had the money, okay. Yeah. But I mean, so I was gonna be like, if I had the money, and then I'm like, is that gross to say that? Like, I don't know. That's like a lawyer. You're like a lawyer. Good for you, man. Thank you.
Well, because now you've turned one profession also into another, basically, because now you've gotten to write a book. So not only, and
do stand up as well.
And do stand up. Yeah. But I mean, there's like, yeah, I mean, a book is like this tangible thing that will be around, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I always find it very impressive whenever I see books. I'm like, reading and whatever. The question I wanted to ask you was like, was there ever a time when you were like doing sex work where, I don't know, it felt like it didn't bring you, I guess, the feelings of like accomplishment and the money and whatever, where you're like, is this something that I want to be doing? Do I feel good about doing this? Or, like with any job, there's negative feelings that come with that. And then with sex work, because I feel like, it's your body. Do you write about that in your book? Are there times when it's not as, glamorous as it seems? Like, if you will?
It's pretty much never glamorous. Like if it is glamorous and I've got like a dinner date at a 5-star hotel, best believe I am taking photos and putting it on Instagram in a hope that you think it's like that all the time. But in regards to like the, I guess, feeling weird or negative about it, it very early on became just like body work. Like I feel like you would feel similarly if you worked in like aged care, where it's like, for me, the idea of wiping somebody's butt, I'm like, how could you do it? It's so gross. I couldn't handle it. But for me, like I touch a dick and I chuck a condom on it and I'm like, whatever. Like, as I'm sure once you've wiped enough butts, you just chuck a rubber glove on and you're like, this is part of my job. So yeah, I don't have any kind of emotional attachment to it. It's easy.
Are there times that you're just like, I don't want anyone to fucking touch me?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I get sex work burnout, every so often. And yeah, I just either try not to work if I've saved some money, or I'm like, gotta grin and bear it. Like when we went back after the second lockdown, here's a illusion shattering story. So when I have months where I'm not making any money from private work, I skip off to a brothel way out in the suburbs where no one will recognize me, and I do $70 jobs. And I just try and churn out as many of those in a day as I can. And when we went back after lockdown, private work wasn't busy. So I skedaddled out to the suburban broth and it was really busy there. So I was doing like 8 jobs a day and doing it 3 days a week. And within 3 weeks, I was like, if anybody touches my nipple again, I am going to go postal and kill someone. And then I had to take like a month off because I was like, no. So if you do too much or you have particularly like pushy or annoying clients, you can definitely get into a phase where you're like, I need time off. But that's also the nice thing about it being like, I work for myself. I can go, fuck this. I'm not doing it for a month. As long as I've got money backed up, I can do that. I don't have to ask someone for time off. My job is still there when I go back. Like, those are the benefits of it.
Did you get payments from the government from during lockdown?
Yeah, I got JobKeeper, which I am way luckier than a lot of my colleagues. I happened to declare tax and I had done a tax return within the appropriate amount of time, and I am a sole trader. So yeah, I got JobKeeper, and that was a pretty good deal.
Can you do, I didn't realize that you could do sole trade, like independent sex work in Victoria. I thought you had to work for a brothel.
No, Victoria, you can do private sex work. There's a lot of like weird rules around it. Like you've got to register with the government. I call it the whore register. And you've got to get like you've got to get like this number code. You have like your SWA that states that you're a verified hooker, and you've got to put that on your ads. And there are other weird rules, like you can only do out calls. You can visit clients, but they can't visit you, I guess, because they don't want you running your little illegal whorehouse out of your apartment that might be next to well-meaning civilians that don't want to be exposed to your dirty hookering. But the rules change wildly.
God forbid there's sex going on next door. I mean, that's pretty funny in a way. In a lot of ways, you and Katharyn remind me of each other. But I love that. That basically you're like, I do all these drugs and I do sex work and I do this, but I file my taxes and I do them on time.
I fucking do too. I fucking do too.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying, that you remind me of each other, because that's what I've said about you. I said to you, because Katharyn first came on the podcast as a guest before we arranged it, before I realized that she was going to be the co-host, and then we decided. And I was like, I love that you're kind of insane, but like, I just know that you're so responsible, like, I just know that Katharyn, like, even on drugs would be like, oh, I got to file this, report or whatever. And then you told me a story at some point, I forget on what episode, of being on ketamine in Edinburgh and like sending off work emails with one eye shut from drugs. And I'm like, yeah, you guys, what's your sign? You're a Taurus.
She's a Taurus, Earth sign. Yeah, it makes sense. But see, now my problem is I'm like, this is just a more exciting version of me, like, because I was the manager.
You're just fucking boring, Katharyn.
I didn't do the deed. I didn't do the deed. I just did the fucking paperwork. I shuffled around the dildos. I made sure the lube was stocked. Like, that's not as exciting as, like, seeing the weird little dicks, or like, I heard about all the shit that got, laid on some chests, but never had to smell it myself. I'm grateful for that, actually. But, but I feel like you've done me better than me. And now I'm jealous. Maybe I should just go, like, she's got it covered.
You're nuts in your own way, Bella's not, but I wouldn't even call you nuts, Bella. I mean, but that's also because we haven't worked together in the same way that I've worked with Katharyn. I'm sure that if you and I worked together, you'd feel that way about me, and I feel that way about you, and right?
I'm a high functioning mess.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I like to call it organized chaos.
Yes.
I do want to ask one more thing. Like, you've written this book, you're doing stand-up, you're doing your show, and making money doing it. So that's you're doing better than most comedians in New York City. So I'll just throw that out there. That's something to feel good about. And but like, do you think now, because I feel like this is how I would be if I finished that, I'd be like, well, what's next? Like, what do I have to come up with something now? Like, it's almost like I finish one thing and I'm like, that's garbage, fuck that, now it's got to be what's next. Are you having those sort of feelings? Do you think you're gonna get to feel good, or are you gonna be like, fuck, I need to churn out something more, or my life is worthless? I'm speaking for myself.
All I think about, apart from being stressed about the book, my main other stress in life is that I need to write a second festival show. I'm like, I've been doing the same one since 2018. I love the festival touring circuit so much. I've done 2 years of it now and just being like, this is what I want to do all the time. And I'm like, you can't go back to Adelaide and Perth next year if you haven't written a new fucking show. And I'm like, what do I have to say? I said everything in my first show. Yeah. Do I do more sex work content? Does anyone want to see me do stuff that isn't sex work content? Like, yeah, I am. And I guess the same thing will happen with the book. I'll put a book out and I'll be like, well, where's your second book? And I'm like, what the fuck would I have to say?
Where's your show in Melbourne?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
At the comedy festival.
Campari House.
Oh, fun. That's great. I used to clean there when I
wow. And how the mighty have fallen, really.
I used to vacuum their carpets in the morning.
Back when you were somebody.
Oh my God. It's so funny. I was thinking about it, like the horrible jobs I had just because at night I was in love with that one part of my life. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't give a shit
anymore.
Yeah, as long as I can get up there and enjoy that time. But it's all right. It's gonna come back. Jerry Seinfeld said it, so I believe it. I'm not even a big Seinfeld fan, but he's apparently the king of stand-up, apparently. Yeah, so anyway, yeah, if I can just get another job fucking vacuuming dead cockroaches off of floors. wiping cat piss, not at Campari House, but cat piss off of walls. I'll go back to, I can do that if I can just do stand up. You're like bargaining with the universe. You're like, I will lick the cat piss this time. I'll pick up the cockroaches by hand. Just let me do it. But I think we're almost there. I told you I got vaccinated today.
Yeah.
Brag. Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah.
Right. So
you got that while we don't.
Now it's the time for you to tell us, if you want to. If you imagine, she's like, I have nothing I'm jealous of. But yeah, if there's anything that sparks envy about us or jealousy or, anything, how the light is reflecting in our hair, anything you want to say.
Oh, I think I said before that you were like everything I wanted to be in a comic. Like, just... God, you're so ballsy and fearless, and the things that you're stressed about, like, oh, I'm just doing crowd work. I'm like, man, imagine being that confident. And like, when I met you, I was like so stoked to see somebody else talking about sex and not giving a fuck about, like, I feel like a lot of the kind of successful women in Melbourne and probably other places as well are like quite palatable and non-threatening to men. And I don't want to rag on why anybody else is successful, but I'm like, I don't know. It was so cool to meet you and be like, oh, you're not pretending to be demure or, likable in a, like, I don't fuck people. Like, we're just like, I'm here and I'm talking about everything and it's real. And this is what's important to me and what's funny to me. It seems like so not calculated. It just seems authentic. And I was like, fuck, she's cool.
Oh God, that bought me another couple months. But between now and, thank you. It's like the word demure. I'm like, I tried so hard for so long. And I remember the first time I did a joke about my period, which it wasn't even that crazy, but my hand was shaking and nobody could see it but me. Like I had my friend recorded me. At some point I remember thinking, because I always thought that if you were going to be fuckable, you had to be really demure and really, and I remember thinking, it was when I lived in Melbourne, and I remember I was like, I can either be funny or fuckable. And I just was like, I'd rather be funny. And that was when I started talking about sex and stuff. And I started talking about, the first thing I think I did was I started talking about shaving my asshole before sex. and that was it. So thank you. Thanks for saying that.
I get it though, because like I'm not considered fuckable in the comedy scene. Like no guys try and fuck me, and I don't think that's because I don't really fuck men. I think it's just because I am off-putting because I'm loud and sexual. And yeah, it's so weird because I'm like, I'm very fuckable. I make a living out of being fuckable.
Yeah,
why do men want to fuck me in comedy?
I'm sure that they do. I think that they get like, oh God, I think that they just get afraid. But also, who wants to be fucked by men in comedy? Ugh, I've never been.
I don't want it.
Yeah,
I just want to be able to turn it down.
Nobody wants it.
Yeah,
that's why it's in the news all the time. Nobody wants it.
Yeah. And anything, I'm like, Katharyn's sitting there and she's just like, are you going to compliment me? I see it.
You don't have to. You don't
Oh,
have
I'd love to. You're so cool. I'm like, why are we not friends? We are so similar. I feel like we're definitely on the same page.
Yeah. I feel like, you know what I feel like? I feel like we just had a date and you said, I'm not interested, but we should be friends. That's what I feel like happened. And that's cool. Like, I feel like it is a shame we didn't get to know each other there. Because I think, do you know what I mean? Like, I think I would have seen your stand up. You might have seen, well, no, you wouldn't have, but whatever. Yeah, you would have gotten a taste of it. And yeah, I think you would have made Melbourne more better.
Survivable.
Oh, thank you.
More better
I'm
for
also
me. Yeah.
I'm also like, fuck off with how hot you are with your hair. And you're like, I threw this in a messy ponytail. I'm like,
it's
damn,
I would twisty things. See, they like twist in your hair. I swear to God, if I lose one of these, that's the day you'll find me dead because I love it. They just twist into your hair. I know. Beauty secrets. My God, maybe it's Maybelline. But you know what? You really comforted me to let me know that even if I do write a book, I'll still feel like shit. So I'll feel like shit either way. So I can do it. I don't have to do it either way. Mood unchanged. And that's going to help me sleep tonight, just knowing that it's futile either way. So thank you for that.
You'll never be happy. That's the Bella Green thing to learn.
And goddamn whoever told me I could grow up to be happy. Goddamn them.
So Bella, when does your show open in Melbourne?
April 5, it's running till April 11 at Campari House. It's called Bella Green is charging for it. It's everything you didn't know you wanted to know about working in the sex industry. It's pretty funny. It won Best Comedy at Adelaide Fringe 2020. People like it. So yeah, come see it.
And
hell yeah.
What's your, anything like your Instagram, Twitter, etc.?
Oh, okay. So social media follows give me life. It's at Bella Greenery on all platforms.
And listen to or follow Everyone's Doing Better on Instagram. You can follow Katharyn at EOGirlYouNasty on Instagram, and me at Eve Elbow, also on Instagram, because like, are there other platforms? And
the book.
Get the book. Oh, what's
June 26th, right?
June 29th? Yeah. I'm a better listener.
It's coming out with Pan Macmillan, and yeah, it's called Happy Endings. So
nice.
By Bella Green.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and like, subscribe, all the things, share on Instagram. Thanks, guys.